is a phenomenal experience put together by Jim Entz. Evidently 12 years ago when the Dalai Lama visited Oregon, the Oregon Country Fair provided a transportation team. We got asked to do it again by Maitripa College, which is a Buddhist college in Portland. It was kind of ironic that when we arrived there, you could see the 30 Secret Service agents slapping their forehead and saying, "Oh my God, now they've sent us a bunch of hippies," because we had beards and ponytails and beads and things like that. By the end of the 5 days, they came up to us and said they'd never worked with a crew that was so good, and if they ever came back to Oregon, would we be willing to provide transportation services again? To which we said we would be glad to, as long as we're not Republicans. It was an experience. Needless to say, I can't drive, so I wasn't one of the drivers, but they had to think of a position for me. So I became the concierge, which was just sort of trying to make sure that the right people got in the right limousines. It was more of just a gift to me from the fair to be able to go and have this experience, to be near the Dalai Lama. We were waiting for him in a small hotel lobby. He was staying in a smaller hotel than we were at. We were staying one that the university has. And he was coming down an elevator, and there was a lineup of mostly Tibetan Americans who were there to be blessed by him. As he went down the line, and as a usual thing, they hand him a white prayer shawl. He places it over their neck and says a prayer. When he came to me, he just stared into my eyes for 15 seconds. And I could sit here and be silent for 15 seconds, and you'd be very surprised at how long that is. And that kind of created a silence in the room. After the 15 seconds, and during it, water started. Every time I met him, water started coming out of my eye sockets. I wouldn't call it crying. I wouldn't call it sobbing or anything. It's just that water was processing out of my body. He came to me, and after that 15 seconds, he placed his hand upon my liver and said a prayer. Jim Entz, who has spent 6 years over in India building hospitals and clinics for Tibetan refugees, speaks Tibetan, and he said that the Dalai Lama diagnosed me. He's an Ayurvedic doctor. He diagnosed me with liver cancer and said a prayer for my liver. That cost me at Stanford and UCSF. It took 6 months and $25,000 to find that out. It took him 15 seconds and a moment of staring in my eyes. So I was needlessly charged by that encounter. He imbued me with some energy. I started waking up every morning with a tremendous amount of energy, wanting to do things. I had been taking sort of a restive approach to my therapy, and I was spending a lot of time resting. And sort of what I got from him was to know, use your mind, use your body, and then also learn, because cancer is limiting as to what I can do physically. So I have to, set my priorities different. The second time I encountered him was in a line where we were supposed to be, because the Oregon Country Fair had taken prayer flag material to this visit that he had, to have him bless the material for our prayer flags at the entry to the fair. I had brought a small pair of meditation symbols that I got in Nepal in 1969. He blessed those. Then he called over a doctor, his doctor. He travels with a doctor now. Even though he's an Ayurvedic doctor, he travels with a Tibetan who is both Ayurvedic and Western medicine. And he basically presented me with some medicine. And from what I found out later, because one of the cars that we were driving, I had the translator in our car, and he basically said that it's very rare that he does that. He doesn't go around handing out medicine in the United States. He doesn't practice while he's here. I was greatly honored to receive this. It is a process of 3 concoctions that I take. That I took it with a full moon, a new moon, and a full moon. There's a lot of ceremony and meditation around it. Certain processes have to be done in the dark. As we expose there's supposed to be 140 different elements to these. I called them love bombs. They were little silk, yellow silk balls that were tied up, coated like an M&M. And in the dark, you had to crush them and then put steaming water in them and let it seep overnight and then drink it the next morning. He said that it was going to be working on subtler energies, and for me not to expect, to like take an aspirin and get rid of a headache. So I haven't had symptoms from taking the medicine. What I have had is some repeated visits from His Holiness, psychically, and what he's taught me is. In the 60s, I traveled around the world and I went to ashrams and monasteries, and like many of us, we were looking for teachers. And I remember the old saying from back then, your teacher will find you when you are ready. To be looking for your teacher is futile. So I was thinking, I found my teacher in the Dalai Lama. And in an instant, I felt like a small slap on my face. It was really funny. And what he was saying was, no, stupid, cancer is your teacher, not me. And so I have changed my perspective to accepting this cancer as my teacher, because it truly is one day at a time, that I'm not even promised that. And so I need to live my life with that perspective. It just happens naturally when you're in that position. And so it's a tremendous teacher for me to try to keep that perspective of this day could be one's last day, and so one should live it as such. I've taken care of all of the legal things that I needed to do with my family, the medical things I needed to do to establish. I've basically gone back and crossed a lot of bridges that I never thought I would cross to people to make amends. I have been using this as a teacher, and it's been, needless to say, the experience of my life. He is an amazing presence. I had spent a lot of time in the 60s. Met Satchidananda when he got off the airplane from Sri Lanka, spent time in his ashram in Kandy, met Bhaktivedanta when he first arrived, got to spend some time around Haridas, Ramdas. I spent time around some teachers. I never found one that I felt was a realized human being, and I feel that I found that in His Holiness. And so now I'm open to continue to receive whatever teachings he may have for me, and welcome those visits deeply. I sometimes get emotional when I talk about it because it's so deep. So it wound up being, and the other part of it was just the thrill of it. What kid doesn't want to ride in a fire engine? What kid doesn't want to be in a motorcade going 50 miles down the highway an hour with motorcycles going past you, and it was quite a thrill in that sense, in a childlike sense, and it was a thrill as a working and developing human being to have been that close to His Holiness. This is a man who sees thousands of people a day, who talks personally one-on-one to hundreds a day, and for him to have remembered me and to have actually bothered to get some medicine, to give me some medicine, was I felt very honored by it. He is he's with me now, and I'm honored to be receiving his messages. Tremendous amount of light, tremendous amount of... He's very funny too. As we were taking the pictures the second time we saw him when he was blessing the prayer flag material, he starts sort of laughing and starts telling the photographers where to stand to get a better picture because of the lighting. And he kind of giggles the whole time he does it.
He does giggle.
We traditionally have a photograph taken with him. It was just recently put on Facebook. And all of these stories I'm telling are on my Facebook page. At the airport, we traditionally take a photograph with him. The escort, the transportation group from Oregon Country Fair. And at the airport, he came toddling over to me in his own little gait and grabbed my arm and wanted to be next to me when the picture was taken. That's pretty humbling for just a boy born in Kentucky, you know. It's very humbling, and was definitely the experience of my life. All of this is created by the Oregon Country Fair. I get emotional about this too. I started a show in my community called Reggae on the River. Me and some friends started a show, very successful for developing our community center. There was a benefit for our community center. And I always believed that what we do, we're tribes that gather. These gatherings are as Leslie, the former general manager, used to say, Leslie Scott, she would say, this is a party with a purpose. And I greatly feel that. And it's not just the purpose. One of the purposes is to give permission to people to step out of their normal being, to let out the inner child, and to make a safe environment so that children of young age can run around and have parents feel they have a safe environment to be in. The older children that we are get to step out of our workaday world and put on a costume and face paint, become a clown, become a pirate, become whatever you want to be, whatever you feel, and have fun with it, and go out on the paths and entertain people. I've always had a theory. I work as a master of ceremonies, and I've always had a theory that if you can put a smile on their face before you've opened your mouth, you're halfway there. And so sometimes the costuming is a great way to do that. I started an exchange program between Reggae on the River and the Oregon Country Fair about 23 years ago, I think, when Leslie first started as general manager. And that developed into a relationship with her because I being a producer of a show, she being a producer of a show, she felt she had somebody she could lean on that had the experience. And what I brought to the fair is a certain skill set. I'm a trained hospice worker. I'm a trained registered mediator. I basically have no politics locally. And she wanted me to come in and mediate some old standing situations that were probably not best handled by established fair family because of the politics that are involved. I guess I did okay because I'm still here 23 years later. It's like no other show I work on. There's no organization that takes as good a care of its volunteers. There's no organization that provides as much material and atmosphere for creativity. And that's why you see the great pieces of artwork that are here and the phenomenal expression of fun and playfulness and art that does exist. So I've always felt that these shows that we put on in our different communities, I call them tribes. I've emceed shows from Vashon Island to the tip of Baja. My forte is in world music and reggae music, and I worked as a master of ceremonies at shows in that range, and that was always a dream of mine to basically, I always had this image that we, go west, young man, and go west, and I always felt that if life started in Asia and Africa, we came around through Western civilization in California. It was sort of like, okay, here we are at the end of the road, kind of. I've always felt that these tribes that exist up and down the west coast of North America need to interface with each other, need to empower each other by honest interface. We're not here to compete. A lot of shows, the music business can be a very rugged and rough business, and people can become very possessive of their success. I've always felt that the opposite should take place. You need to share your success. We can only strengthen ourselves and strengthen our message if we cooperate with each other, not pretend that what we have is secret or belongs to us. It belongs to all of us. And we've had, I think, a tremendous success in interfacing between shows and an exchange. Cruise services here at the Oregon Country Fair came from Reggae on the River. Reggae on the River, this year we're numbering our wristbands, concept coming from here. And there are actually about a half a dozen examples of good, healthy exchanges of systems that have taken place between the two shows. And as it goes on between other shows, I've brought Sierra Nevada World Music Festival producers here, Earth Dance people have been here. Through the fair, not just through me, Burning Man organizers. It's become a good thing to do, is to have these gatherings where promoters come and share. Because not only do you get to play for a little while, but you get to look, if you bring coordinators, you pair them up with a coordinator of their same job function. And there's always something to learn by watching somebody else do the same job. And I think it's been very successful. The Oregon Country Fair is unique and is blessed in many ways. It's had incredible leadership in both Leslie and Charlie and those that preceded him. Leadership that has brought this show to a level of execution that you can gather this many people and still maintain a safe environment and still maintain the core purpose of the event, for people to have fun, for people to be exposed to music that they may not normally listen to. 12 years ago, Robert Despain and Leslie and I talked and kind of came up with the spoken word program. It's a program, there are over 60 presenters, age range 16 to their 90s. Subjects that vary from gardening to midwifery to on and on, philosophy, medicine. We had Andrew Weil here. People like Ram Dass have come and spoken. So a complete spectrum of the human experience can be represented in the spoken word program. And it enriches the show and sets it above the other shows, in my opinion, because it provides an opportunity for somebody who might have an interest or an inkling towards a subject, that if it happens to be somebody that we're usually presenting the top people in the field, for them to go and learn and listen, including songwriter workshops like this year. Peter Yarrow's here, Holly Neer has been here in past years, different performers. And I think that we've done a phenomenal job of that. The spoken word program is a great success. The level of organization, what's beautiful about the Oregon Country Fair is you don't know, so many of the systems are hidden. One doesn't know how well protected and looked after they are, because we go around some undercover, some with radios, some with security shirts on, some without them. But there's a benign presence of a different type of security. We're provided phenomenal medical service through Whitebird, sort of Oregon's version of Rock Med that came out of the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic, just like Whitebird came out of the Whitebird Free Clinic. It's that level of organization that people don't see that provides the safety net for all of this to take place without incident of major type. There's always a few people when you can gather 18,000 people. There's always somebody that comes with who's going to make the wrong choices. And part of what we do is give people other choices to make. Part of our job as a backup management team is to explain what they've done wrong. We have a booklet here called the Guidelines. The Guidelines are basically a community agreement, and it means that if you put on the wristband for come to the show, you agree to abide by those conditions that are in the Guidelines. That way you have people buying into what your rules are. And they help create the rules. It's an open process. The guidelines are changed every year to better suit a situation that's arisen, or things that we can improve. So I'm very happy to see the level of success and honored to be part of this show. I've always said that if you're high on your horse, there's people around here that can get you down off that horse in a nanosecond. If you're hurting or down or dealing with an illness like I am, there's no place on the planet I would rather be than the Oregon Country Fair. The amount of care and concern and love that I received since I've been here, once again, causes water to flow. Oregon Country Fair is a small miracle, is what it is. It's people getting together and creating a world. We call it the fair world, and we call the outside the unfair world. And it creates I keep on going back to the word safe, because I think it's very important for people to have a sense of safety when they are experimenting with their being, when they are changing their persona a bit. It's all part of the growth process, and this is a great school for that process. And to have been invited back for 23 years. Something else. Our management team is about 12 strong, and I've been working, I said about 23 years at the fair, and I would guess 19 or 20 on the management team. Somewhere in there, the numbers get vague. I personally have never seen a raised voice or an argument. Differences of opinion, yes. Strongly held points of view, yes. These are all movers and shakers, but they've all learned the process, and it's called 3-chip interaction. And the 3 chips is that you approach the situation with respect for the other person, you get the business done, and you have fun while you're doing it. And if you use those 3 chips when you interact with somebody, if you approach them with respect, no matter what has preceded the event that brings you there, if you approach both parties with respect, or if it's a one-on-one, you approach that person with respect, and then you get the business done. The point is you're trying to make, what guideline is you're trying to show them, what other choice you're trying to show them. And then the last one is to have fun doing it, and that's crucial to the fair. If you're not having fun doing it, that's your own fault, and you need to take a look at it. It's been, again, I say humbling. I remember when I first got here, Robert Despain, who was a former general manager, Robert Despain said, the day that you to know what the fair can do for you instead of what you can do for the fair is the day that you probably need to leave. The fair is not here for you to come to expect things from the fair. What you get from the fair is what you give to the fair. And if you come to this fair and give it your all, and we recognize that. There's a lot of people with a lot of skill sets here. We really recognize that. And all of our parts are small parts, but the whole is huge.
The synergy is spectacular.
Unbelievable.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's the other thing. Aside from the messages from His Holiness that I'm receiving, right after I'd found out that I was going to come up and be part of the transportation team, a lady in my community called me and said, "I just had the strangest dream. You were getting out of a limousine with a tuxedo on, and you were with somebody really famous. Were you at some rock and roll show and traveling with somebody, that was real famous or something?" And I said, "No, but I'm about ready to go be part of the transportation team to escort the Dalai Lama." And she said, "Oh, okay, that explains it." And I'm going like, that means I'm going to make it, because at that time, day to day was very questionable, and week to week, and that was 2 weeks.
Show us that picture.
2 weeks ahead. This is the picture of when he blessed the symbols that I had brought.
Tilt it a little towards me, the top there.
And just the honor of being near him and the playfulness. I've got other pictures that are more playful. There's, like I said, a whole series on Facebook. I keep this picture because every time I look at it, it brings me to that moment and raises me to that place. It reminds me of the gifts that I have received from His Holiness and from my life in general. And so I am very honored to have that picture. So this picture is the other side of a backup manager. This was a benefit that we held for Culture Jam, and it was chocolate pudding wrestling, except they didn't have a refrigerator big enough to put a small waiting pool of chocolate pudding in. So it was more like 6 inches of chocolate milk.
It stung your eyes.
And the idea was for us all to be, like what a WWF wrestling, and all of that. And I was the announcer at it, and of course, naturally, after talking for an hour doing it, the audience starts screaming, "Throw the announcer in, throw the announcer in." So I got in the ring too, and
the announcer always thinks he gets away without it.
Yeah, we got enough. We got enough money for a scholarship, and I got a cracked rib. Is what I got. My hope is that through events like this and through these cultures that we create, I'll put in a plug for Kyra Wiltshire's book about a tribal revival.
That's such a beautiful book.
I think he captured in photographs what nobody has yet of what it's about, what these festivals are about, and. OCF, people are often amazed at how much I love this show. They're jealous, my own community. Somebody came up to me and said, "You like that show better than you like your own show that you created, Rick and the River." And I said, "Yes, I do. Yes, I do."
And this is Doug's Green now.
They named a piece of property after me, which is a great honor. There's only a few who are alive that they've named things for, and only a few who have passed they named things for. So I don't quite get it. I don't really see why I deserve this or anything, but I accept it, and I'm honored by it. And all it does is inspire me to continue with the lessons that I learned to try to share those with people. I do feel that I've been being 68 next year. I do feel that I have been given a life that was full of lessons, many of which I have not taken full advantage of, but blessedly enough of has seeped through this thick skull of mine to, I think, give me some tools to help other people. So it's a lucky incarnation this time around. My hospice work has prepared me. My wife says, you have a morbid attraction to death. And I don't have a morbid attraction to death, but through my hospice work, I've learned that it should be treated with the same joy and respect that birthing is. We live in a culture that has this fear of and mojo of, because we place too much importance upon ourself and our singular being. We're forgetting our oneness, and passing out of this body is nothing but returning to that oneness with everybody. And so I've had glimpses of that oneness. I even had a near-death experience in an accident, and had a very deep out-of-body experience and glimpse into what is ahead. And I look upon it, in my hospice work, I don't call it passing away or dying, I call it graduating. What we're doing is we're graduating here. And it tends to relax the client. It's I keep on using the word an honor to be here, and I guess I can't express it too much. To be part of this family, to have been accepted by them, to be, they pranked me. If you get a chance, you can turn your camera and take a look at my little cart there, or maybe you already have it.
I'll get it.
Yeah, it's, Henry, who's my caregiver, said, how can I borrow the cart? I got to run down to main camp. Could I take your battery down and get it replaced, and I'll be right back? And I'm just going, sure. And he comes back a half hour later, and there was a team of 4 people that were over at the art barn, and they attacked that cart in 15 minutes or 20 minutes, created something that makes everybody smile, and goes back to my saying, particularly in MC work, and why I dress silly sometimes, is because if you can put a smile on their face before you've opened your mouth, you're halfway there. If you're saying something to somebody who's already got a big grin on their face, it's like the door is open.
Disarming.
To get in there. Yes, yeah. Being pranked here is a deep expression of love.
That's great.
So I felt so loved by this family, and so honored to be part of it. And to anybody that hadn't been to the Oregon Country Fair, all I can say is you're missing something, and it's a place to come and play and learn, and one should take advantage of it, because we don't know if we're going to be here next year.